before the Honorable Supreme Court of the Philippines shall give their attention, for the court is now in session.
Please be seated.
Madam Clerk of Court, please call the cases before us.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. This is a continuation of the oral arguments on the consolidated petitions in GR number 274778, Aquilino Pimentel III et al., petitioners, versus House of Representatives, represented by the Speaker, Ferdinand Martin Romualdez et al., respondents, GR number 275405, Bayan Muna Chairperson Nery Colmenares et al., petitioners, versus Executive Secretary Lucas P. Bersamin et al., respondents, and GR number 276233, One Sambayan Coalition et al., petitioners, versus the House of Representatives, represented by the Speaker, Ferdinand Martin Romualdez et al., respondents. Thank you, Your Honor.
Appearances, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Respectfully appearing for petitioners Pimentel et al., Paula May Tanqueng, Your Honor. Together with me is Michael Ocampo, Your
Honor. Nery Colmenares, Your Honor, for petitioner Bayan Muna Party List, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Respectfully appearing as counsel for the petitioners in GR number 275405, Attorney Maria Cristina Piambot.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Attorney Howard Calleja for Isang Bayan Coalition, UP class of 75, and Father Flavi, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Attorney Joseph Peter Calleja, respectfully appearing for Senior for Seniors Association Incorporated, Kidney Foundation of the Philippines, and the San Beda Alabang Human Rights Group.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Attorney Christopher Lau, respectfully appearing as counsel for petitioner Sambayan Coalition et al.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Attorney Sani Matula, representing the trade union leaders, FFW, and Nagkaisa, petitioners in intervention in the Pimentel case.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Good afternoon, our distinguished amici. Good afternoon to everyone in the session hall. I am respectfully re-entering the appearance of the Office of the Solicitor General as counsel for all the public respondents except PhilHealth, which is represented by the Office of the Government Corporate Counsel. Together with me this afternoon, our Assistant Solicitor General George Ortha II, Assistant Solicitor General Maria Victoria Sardillo, and State Solicitor Rowena Mutya. We are ready for interpellation, Your Honor.
May we call on the following? Honorable Ralph Recto, Secretary of Finance. Thank you. Honorable Teodoro Herbosa, Secretary of Health. Secretary Bienvenido Laguesma of the Department of Labor. Honorable Amina Pangandaman, Secretary of Budget and Management. Honorable Rexton T. Gatchalian, Secretary of Social Welfare and Development. PhilHealth President and CEO Edwin B. M. Mercado. Former Secretary of Finance Margarito Tebes. Mr. Obed Jose C. Solon. Ms. Aiza Nadine M. Suzara. Mr. Sani Africa. Ms. Beverly Lorraine Ho. Thank you very much. Justice Ami Javier will continue her interpellation. OGCC, sorry.
Your Honors, please. Solomon Hermosura and Melissa Montesilio Acorda of the Office of the Government Corporate Counsel, respectfully appearing for Philippine Health Insurance Corporation, or PhilHealth, Your Honor. We also have government corporate attorneys and members of our admin staff in the gallery who are here to provide moral and other necessary support. Thank you, Your Honors.
About over 100 representatives from the Office of the Solicitor General. There were, I think, how many buses, Lord, Mr. Solicitor General? 2 buses? Yes. Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, Justice Amelia Lazaro Javier will resume her interpellation.
Yes, thank you,
Thank you.
Chief Justice. We continue with the interpellation of Mr. Deputy Treasurer Marino. Yes, please. Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Deputy Treasurer.
Good
Marino.
afternoon.
Yes. You mentioned during the first oral argument that politics is a factor, or political factors. You consider political factors in fixing the amount of the reserve funds.
I do not recall, Your Honor.
All right. I do recall.
I do not
You
recall,
said
Your
that.
Honor.
All right. So next session, if we will have another session, I will have to show you the TSN on that. And my response to you then was, I don't know about politics, but now I would like to hear an explanation from you. When you mentioned that political factors were being considered by PhilHealth whenever it fixes the amount of the reserve funds. So I would like to ask the Chief Justice that for the next oral argument, I will be allowed to ask that question to you again. During the last oral argument, you also mentioned that PhilHealth recorded an average turnaround time of 29 days in paying reimbursement claims. Is that right?
Your Honor, if I remember correctly, it was 23 days based on these.
All right,
statements.
even shorter.
Yeah.
23 days. All right. And this is the average, correct?
Based on
So-
yes. Yes, Your Honor.
What was the longest period it took PhilHealth to pay hospitals and doctors?
Your Honor, may I ask one of our colleagues from the PhilHealth management? They would have the information there.
All right. If you don't have the information now, the court requires you to submit to the court the information within 10 days from today.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, what do you mean by turnaround time?
Again, if I may secure assistance from our PhilHealth management colleagues on the specific definition, Your Honor. But if I may be given...
Would you like to invite your colleague to
Yes.
respond to the question?
Yes.
Yes. Who is that colleague of yours?
Your Honor, I believe it will be SVP's Senior Vice President Renette Lim Siaco of the Financial Management Service of PhilHealth.
Senior Vice President
Yes, Your
Lim
Honor.
Siaco.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon, Your Honors.
Senior Vice President Lim
Yes,
Quiaco.
yes, Your Honor.
So, what does turnaround time mean?
Turnaround time, Your Honor, on our claims processing refers to the cumulative processing time of good claim starting from the time claims is received by PhilHealth and end when paid, Your Honor.
All right. So, the turnaround time of PhilHealth under its IRR is how many days?
Your Honor, PhilHealth is authorized under its IRR 60 days to process the claims, Your Honor.
Yes. So the 60 days include the filing, the period beginning from the filing of the claim up to payment.
Your Honor, the receipt of the claims by PhilHealth from our health facilities, accredited health facilities, Your Honor, up to the payment, Your Honor.
All right. So you receive the documents, approved documents from your facilities. So from receipt of those documents, your turnaround time is 60 days.
Yes, Your Honor, authorized by law, Your Honor, to process the claims.
Yes. Did you always observe the 60-day turnaround time?
Your Honor, we are working to process the claims within 60 days, but there are instances, Your Honor, that the claims is processed beyond 60 days, Your Honor.
So going to my earlier question, how long, the longest time, what was the longest period it took you, PhilHealth, to process a claim?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, hindi ho kami nakadala ng data dito. As mentioned,
Yes.
we will come up with a report.
Yes,
submitted,
please,
Your Honor.
please.
Thank you po.
So, if PhilHealth exceeds the 60-day turnaround time, do you sanction the people who have incurred that delay?
Your Honor, there are some instances that, of course, claims will be processed beyond. Your Honor, that is monitored by the corporation as well. And there was an instance, Your Honor, that, of course, the corporation sanctioned an officer, Your Honor.
There was once,
Yes,
only
yes, po.
once.
Yes, po.
That gives me the impression that there was only one time that you delayed.
Not necessarily,
Not
Your Honor.
necessarily.
Yes, po.
So how much time or delay was incurred in that case where you sanctioned the official?
Your Honor, I have no record right now, Your Honor. Maybe we can submit a report.
And
on
you
that.
don't know, you don't recall the sanction imposed?
Yes, Your Honor.
You don't recall?
I don't recall,
Yes.
Your Honor.
So, as we speak, and perhaps you don't have any available data right now, but how much claims are still pending action by PhilHealth as we speak?
As you mentioned, Your Honor, I do not have the data right now, but the corporation received a claims of 1.6 million per month, particularly January, Your Honor. So that's 1.6 billion claims we received. And of course, the corporation is processing that one.
As of January,
For the month of January, Your Honor.
Alone?
2025. Yes, Your Honor.
you already received how many?
1.6 million, Your Honor.
1.6 million. So if you apply the turnaround time of 60 days, how many have you processed already?
Your Honor, the
By this
corporation-
time, they should have been processed already.
Yes po, Your Honor.
Yes. So
Yes po.
have you processed 1.6 million? As of
I have no data, Your Honor. But
as
I
we
think
speak?
Mga, ano, Your Honor, mga 1.4 to 1.5 million, Your Honor.
You have processed.
Process po.
Meaning you have approved for payment.
Yes, yes, Your
Yes,
Honor.
and you have paid.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Please give us the data
Yes, Your
on
Honor.
these claims. you also, at least Deputy Treasurer Marino also explained, I hope you remember this time. You also mentioned that the 23, you mentioned 23 days on the average, right? Yes, last time.
Yes.
Within which to process the claims. And you specifically mentioned that this is the period for processing good claims.
Yes, Your Honor.
Correct. So when you speak of good claims, it means there are also bad claims.
Again, Your Honor.
Mr. Senior Vice President?
Yes, Your Honor.
See. So what do you mean by bad claims?
Your Honor, claims considered as not good if mayroon po siyang tinatawag tayo ng mga deficiencies. When you talk about deficiencies, it can be return to hospital claims or denied claims, Your Honor.
All right. So how long, or on the average, how long does it take PhilHealth to determine whether a claim is good or bad?
Your Honor, in the processing of claims, malalaman po natin, we can PhilHealth identify whether that claims is good or RTEs or denied, Your Honor.
And you apply also the 23 days or the 60 days?
Your Honor, on the part of the RTEs claims, it is returned to the hospital. Same thing with denied claims, Your Honor. So on the part of the denied claims, it will be the hospital or the health facilities has the chance to appeal, to submit a protest to our regional office. And on the part of the RTEs, Your Honors, these are claims with deficiencies and return to the hospital, and the hospital will submit to refile that claims, Your Honor,
Yes.
for it to be
Do
processed
you give
again.
these hospitals whose documents have been returned because they are incomplete, do you give them a definite time within which to cure the defects?
Yes, Your Honor. The hospital health facilities has 60 days to process, to resubmit the claims or to refile the claims, Your Honor.
All right. So 60 days within which to cure the defect.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And then PhilHealth has 60 days also
Yes, Your Honor.
within which to process
Yes, Your Honor.
the rectified claim.
Yes, Your Honor.
And how long does it take PhilHealth to act on the appeal of hospitals or doctors whose claims have been denied?
Your Honor, the process of denied claims, it will be submitted again to protest, Your Honor, administrative protest to our PhilHealth Regional Office, CRC, Claims Review Committee. And it will be processed by our Claims Review Committee. If it is approved for payment or granted, Your Honor, it will be returned to our PhilHealth Regional Office Benefit Administration Section for processing, Your Honor. But if it is not granted, it will be returned back to the health facilities for our health facilities to look into the action of the PhilHealth CRC. And if, Your Honor, the health facilities wanted again to appeal, the health facilities will submit the claims to our PhilHealth Protest in Appeal Review Department at the Central Office, Your Honor.
All right. Based on your statement, financial statements in 2023, the total claims process was only 32.037 billion plus. Yes. The total claims paid was only 32.037 billion plus.
Your Honor, the figure is not, sorry, Your Honor, the figure is not matched to our record for December 2023 po.
All right. You describe these claims as in course of settlement. which means
When we say, Your Honor, the claim is in course of settlement, that is, the claims is on process, meaning received by the corporation, but still on process. The different stages, Your Honor.
not yet approved.
Not yet approved, Your Honor.
All right, not yet paid.
Yes, Your Honor, not yet
Okay.
paid. So in
Can
process
in
before.
course of settlement claims also include those that have been approved but not paid?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor. There are two things, Your Honor, in process and approved for payment but not yet paid, Your Honor. So nandyan pa rin sa corporation, Your Honor.
All right. May I ask the IRR and the Citizens Charter of PhilHealth to be flashed on the screen? Yes. Right. Flash on the screen is PhilHealth Citizens Charter, showing the timeline within which PhilHealth should act on the claims. The same timeline is also indicated in the implementing rules and regulations of the UHCI. True, there is a timeline in IRR and Citizens Charter of PhilHealth within which PhilHealth should act on the claims. But faithfully complying with this timeline is another thing. Theoretically speaking, a prescribed timeline may be delayed by inaction or even suspension of payment. Even though the claims have been approved, payment may still be, for one reason or another, suspended. So theoretically speaking also, the amounts of payment corresponding to the liabilities which are due and demandable may be reduced by simply slowing down the processing of the claims. Do you agree? Theoretically speaking, that can be done?
Yes, Your Honor, it can be done. But of course, Your Honor, on the part of PhilHealth, the fastest that we can release the funds to the hospital or to health facilities, Your Honor, yun po yung ginagawa po ng corporation.
The fastest?
The fastest.
Okay.
Your Honor.
What time is the fastest time
Your Honor,
for PhilHealth?
Your Honor, as of December 31, as reported by BM Marino, that was average of 23 days, Your Honor, December 31, 2024, Your Honor.
How many claims? You can tell.
Your Honor, I have no information on the number of claims, Your
All
Honor.
right. So theoretically speaking, the process can be slowed down. Eh? Yes?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Even by those negligent employees or personnel of PhilHealth who are in charge of processing, that can happen theoretically.
Theoretically.
Correct?
Your Honor.
So if the process of payment is slowed down, the assets of PhilHealth may not appear to have been dissipated yet, when in truth, these assets should have already been exhausted had the claims been promptly processed and paid. Theoretically speaking, that can happen.
That can happen, Your Honor.
Yes. So, in its comment, dated September 2, 2024, the Honorable Deputy Treasurer may take his seat in the meantime. Yes, thank you. In its comment dated September 2, 2024, page 69, the OSG stated that the unpaid claims of hospitals, doctors, and members have been recorded and recognized prior to transferring PhilHealth's fund balance to the National Treasury. Do you agree?
Your Honor, the claims the recognition of payable or expenses of PhilHealth is even the claims is not yet received by the corporation, meaning services rendered by the hospital, claim still at the hospital, it is part of the benefit expense and recognized as in the books of PhilHealth as payable already.
All
Or
right.
part of the liability already po.
So, do you agree that recording and recognizing is one thing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Actual payment is another.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. So, has PhilHealth paid all the recorded and recognized claims
Your Honor,
before it transferred the funds to the Treasury?
Your Honor, in a certain cut-off date, Your Honor, definitely hindi ho natin mababayaran lahat given
Hindi
that
lahat mababayaran.
still at the hospital pa yung
Yes.
claims, Your Honor.
Even those that have already been processed and are just waiting to be paid, have you paid them all before funds were transferred to the Department of Finance?
In a given time, Your Honor, we should have still claims na
So not
unpaid.
all
unpaid po.
all were paid,
Yes,
and
po.
yet you transferred the funds already.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Going back to our average turnaround period of 23 days, please submit to the court also within 10 days from today the following documents from 2020 to the present: the audited summary of claimants and the amounts of their respective claims, audited processing time for each claim, whether accepted or rejected, fully or partially, and audited summary of approved and disapproved claims with corresponding amounts. It is understood that the audit should be made by an independent auditor. Okay? Please submit both hard and soft copies. Now, flash on the screen is the financial statement of PhilHealth as of December 31, 2021 and 2020, submitted for COA's audit. This financial statement will also be distributed or has been distributed to the members of the court and the councils. Based on PhilHealth's own financial statement as of December 31, 2021, submitted to COA, PhilHealth had total assets of 347 billion plus, while its total liabilities amounted to 1.16 trillion plus. Of this 1.16 trillion plus total liabilities, 1.014 trillion plus was for insurance contract liabilities or ICLs. In fine, in 2021, PhilHealth had a deficit of 816 billion plus per its own financial statement submitted to COA in 2021. On this financial statement and per COA's independent auditor's report dated June 30, 2022, COA issued an adverse opinion. Adverse opinion means that COA, okay, may I ask you, sir, what do you mean by adverse opinion?
Your Honor, adverse opinion. This is an opinion that is qualified, Your Honor, and the Commission on Audit found there are some inaccuracy in terms of the presentation of our financial report, Your Honor.
All right, I will present to you the actual wording, the actual words of COA in its adverse opinion, right? Adverse opinion, this is my word, my own words. Adverse opinion means that COA found that PhilHealth, and the following are the words of COA. And I quote, financial statements do not present fairly. PhilHealth's financial statements do not present fairly in all material aspects the financial position of PhilHealth and its financial performance and cash flows, close quote. So it simply means that the total numbers reported by PhilHealth did not even represent yet the full extent of its liabilities, among others, aside from the fact that its assets were found to have been overstated. So may I request Attorney Cuevas, please, to read the observations of COA into the records.
With the kind indulgence of the court, the balance of the account provision for insurance contract liabilities, or ICL, as of December 31, 2021, both in the amount of 1.14 trillion is unreliable due to A, non-recognition of the changes in estimates in calendar year 2021, which was not in accordance with the requirements of the Philippine Accounting Standards, resulting in the misstatement of the accounts, provision for ICL, and members' equity accounts as of December 31, 2021, and other comprehensive income for calendar year 2021 by 674.946 billion pesos, and B, misapplication of the first-time adoption of the Philippine Financial Reporting Standards in the previous year also resulted in a misstatement of the calendar year 2020 other comprehensive income balances. These deficiencies affected the fair presentation of the accounts in the financial statements, contrary to paragraph 15 of the Philippine Accounting Standards.
Okay, so Mr. Limsiaco, COA itself stated that PhilHealth's admitted ICLs of 1.014 trillion is unreliable because PhilHealth failed to recognize the changes in estimates in 2021, thereby violating the Philippine accounting standards. Correct?
Yes, Your Honor. That was written in the,
Yes.
as mentioned, Your Honor.
So may I ask again Attorney Cuevas to read the continuation of the COA's observations?
The accounting errors in the recognition and measurement of investment in bonds and accrued interest receivable resulted in the overstatement of investment in bonds, accrued interest income, and interest income accounts by 26.429 million pesos, 7.202 million pesos, and 7.202 million pesos respectively, thus affecting the fair presentation of these accounts in the financial statements as of December 31, 2021.
All right, thank you, Attorney Cuevas. In short, PhilHealth, apart from misstating its liabilities, also overstated its assets. Therefore, if the actual total assets is significantly less than what has been reported, the negative equity of PhilHealth may be way more than 816 billion pesos. Correct, Mr. Vice President?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. So may I ask again Attorney Cuevas to read the continuation of COA's independent auditor's report dated June 30, 2022.
The inadequacy/non-disclosures in the notes to financial statements, FS, of the potential impact/effect of the ongoing pandemic caused by COVID-19 on the operations and financial transactions of PhilHealth and the corporation's plans in addressing the risk and uncertainties of events and circumstances that may raise substantial doubts about its ability to continue as a going concern affected the fair presentation of financial statements and may also have impacted the economic decisions of the intended users, contrary to the Philippine accounting standards.
Thank you. Mr. Senior Vice President, when a corporation has the ability to continue as a going concern, does it mean that the corporation is financially stable and expected to be able to continue its operations?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. So the opposite is when it has no longer the ability to continue as a going concern, which means the corporation is bankrupt. Do you agree on the meaning of being unable to continue as a going concern?
Your Honor, very sorry. Can you repeat please the question, Your Honor? Very sorry, Your Honor.
Yes. Being unable to continue as a going concern, do you agree that there is doubt on the financial stability of that corporation and that that corporation more likely than not is bankrupt?
It has the possibility, Your Honor.
Yes. So, did PhilHealth comply with the recommendation of COA to make a self-review of its financial stability or ability to continue its operations as guarantor of the people's access to quality and affordable health care and protection against financial risk?
Yes, Your Honor.
How?
Your Honor, it can be in the year 2023, Your Honor, that the COA annual audit report, their opinion from the adverse, Your Honor, to a modified one or qualified one, Your Honor. And of course, the enhancement of our financial report is continuing, Your Honor. And as presented, Your Honor, the notes of financial statement enhance and incorporate the recommendation of the Commission on Audit, Your Honor.
So what is the result of your continuing review on whether you should continue to operate as a going concern? Is it in the positive or in the negative?
Your Honor, is it in the positive, Your Honor? And on the concern, Your Honor, of the going concern of the corporation, I can simply say, Your Honor, that the corporation has that capacity to continue its operation, Your Honor. Given that the corporation, Your Honor, has investment portfolio, Your Honor, enough to cover the requirements of the corporation in terms of benefit payment, Your Honor.
Right. How much is the portfolio? How much is your total assets?
Your Honor.
In 2021. Yes.
600 billion, Your Honor.
Yes, but your liabilities are far more than, significantly more.
Yes, Your Honor.
Even if you double up your assets, they're not enough to pay off your liabilities.
Your Honor, the increase in liability, Your Honor, is brought about by the insurance contract liability. This is a provision, Your Honor, for insurance contract liability, a provision for the future requirements of the corporation, Your Honor, in compliance to PFRS number 4. Your Honor, when we checked our financial report and on the operation of the corporation, Your Honor, that ICL is a guide, reportorial is a guide for the management to look into that. And of course, the part of the national government, Your Honor, that this one is the future requirements.
The future, is it based on actuarial estimate?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
That is an actuarial estimate,
So
Your
you're
Honor.
saying that the PhilHealth is not required to set actual funds to cover liabilities that may become due and demandable anytime within the year.
Your Honor, that ICL is a non-current liability, Your Honor, and
It is non-government liability.
non-current, Your Honor. It is-
Non-current, yes.
Yes po.
They're not non-current because they're based on actuarial estimate and they may not be current at the beginning of the year, but they may become current at the mid month of January, for example.
Your Honor, very sorry, Your Honor, but on the part of the ICL calculation, Your Honor, it should be part of the non-current because that is the future requirement of the corporation.
Yes, but
and our
yes.
corporate operating
Continue.
budget, Your Honor, corporate operating budget or COB, that is our basis for the incurrence of our expenditures or obligation. That is the basis of the corporation in incurring the obligation to pay the benefit payment and even the administrative expense, Your Honor. Hindi pa ho nakaabot sa 200 billion mark yung benefit expense ng corporation, Your Honor. So kumbaga, the benefit expense lang natin, even year 2024, ang initial figure namin, Your Honor, because hindi pa siya approved by the board and
Yes.
not yet finalized yung FS, nasa 192 billion pesos, Your Honor.
Yes, but you know, the amount of your liabilities is very much within the control of PhilHealth. You can control the flow of the faucet, so to speak. So if your assets are not much, the flow of water should be, I think, minimized. You cannot max up the flow of water. But you are required to set aside a portion of your assets for no other purpose but as reserve funds. Is that an abstract requirement, or are you required to set aside real funds to cover future liabilities where the beneficiaries have already paid their contributions?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but the requirement of the law, Your Honor, particularly in Section 11, reserve fund for a maximum of 2 years, Your Honor.
Yes. So is the reserve funds just in paper? Are you not supposed to reserve real money, real funds that you cannot spend for some other purpose?
Your Honor.
Because anytime the ICL will become due and demandable, you cannot predict when people get sick.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
The reserve fund, of course, Your Honor, we set up already with the approval of the board, Your Honor, the 280.6, Your Honor. And that 280.6, Your Honor, has a asset backup, Your Honor. in the
Yes,
form of
because
cash
that's
and
the
investment.
only money you can afford. Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Depending
Mayroon ako
on
tayo.
your assets. So, if you're going to promptly process and pay all 1.3 trillion when they become due and demandable, your assets will not suffice.
Definitely,
Alright.
Your Honor.
Okay. Flash on the screen is the restated financial statements of PhilHealth for 2021. Note that even with the restated figures, PhilHealth submitted to COA its total assets as of December 31, 2021 was only 362 billion plus, while its total liabilities was 488.545 billion plus, still leaving a negative equity of 126.149 billion plus. Therefore, even with the restated figures, PhilHealth still had a deficit in 2021. Correct, Mr. Senior Vice President?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, that is the finding of COA based on your stated
Your Honor,
statement.
Your Honor,
Financial
very sorry, Your
statement.
Honor. May I request GCG, Your Honor? GCC, Your Honor, Hermosora.
Request him to take over. All right. Good afternoon,
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Mr. Government Corporate Counsel,
Yes.
Attorney
Yes, ma'am.
Hermosura. All right.
I think we appreciate the concern of Your Honors about the solvency of PhilHealth. Actually, what makes PhilHealth appear to have more liabilities than assets, Your Honors, is it's, and I quote this from the financial statements, it's provision for insurance contract liabilities, which stood at 1.150 trillion as of December 31, 2023. Now, you will note that this is a provision for liabilities, Your Honor. It is not a statement of liabilities. It is just a provision. So this is especially true for insolvency purposes. Under the Financial Rehabilitation and Insolvency Act of 2010, liabilities refer to, and I quote, monetary claims against the debtor. There are no current claims for insurance contract liabilities against PhilHealth. There have been no such claims for insurance contract liabilities. And that is because PhilHealth has not issued and has no outstanding insurance contract. PhilHealth is not an ordinary insurance company, Your Honor. It is the state insurance company. It cannot be insolvent because by law, and I refer you, Your Honors, please, to Section 58 of the National Health Insurance Act. The government of the Philippines guarantees the financial viability of the program or the National Health Program administered by PhilHealth.
All right.
Yes.
Yes, I will ask you on this later.
Thank you.
All right. Now, which portion of the funds in 2021 was idle?
Can I answer
Yes,
that, Your Honor?
yes, please.
PhilHealth has had no idle funds, Your Honor. If I may explain.
Yes.
Actually, PhilHealth does not receive appropriations from any of the General Appropriations Act. What PhilHealth receives, Your Honors, are subsidies for premium payments of indirect contributors. If you will allow me, Your Honor, to quote from the General Appropriation Acts for 2021, 2022, and 2023 of the provision specific to PhilHealth. And this is the quote, Your Honor. The amount appropriated herein under the subsidy for the National Health Insurance Program shall be used for the health insurance premiums of indirect contributors composed of the following: indigents, senior citizens, unemployed persons with disability, and financially incapable point-of-service patients.
All right.
So all monies that PhilHealth received from the general appropriations were received by PhilHealth as payment for the premium contributions of indirect contributors.
All right. So under Section 37 of the law, UHCA law, okay, can we flash that? Section 37 on the appropriations. Yes. So may I just read? The amount necessary to implement this act shall be sourced from the following: total incremental sin tax collections, 50% of the national government share from the income of the PAGCOR, 40% of the charity fund, premium contributions of members, annual appropriations of the DOH included in the GAA, and national government subsidy to PhilHealth included in the GAA. How can we say now that you are not receiving any appropriations from the government?
It is, PhilHealth is receiving appropriations from the government, Your Honor, but not appropriations for PhilHealth. These are appropriations for the premium payments of the indirect contributors, the indirect members of PhilHealth. So the law says, and I quote again the common provision, they shall be used for the health insurance premiums of indirect contributors. So once PhilHealth received those appropriations, book them as premium payments of the indirect contributors, those appropriations have served the purpose for which they have been appropriated, Your Honors.
No, you mean to say that all other sources of appropriations other than letter D, premium contributions of members, they go to the indirect contributors? Indirect members?
Those
yes?
are the funds that PhilHealth has received under the GAAs for 2021, 2022, and 2023.
But they also, you have a system to segregate these funds?
Yes.
Yes. You can determine which funds came from the government and which funds came from sin tax, from annual appropriations, from premium contributions of members.
I saw in the financial statements distributed earlier, Your Honor, that the premiums from direct members and premium from indirect members are accounted for separately, Your Honor.
Separately, but
Yes.
do they constitute special funds, all of them, for the special purpose to provide health care to the people?
Well, under the General Appropriations Act, Your Honor, the specified purpose for these appropriations is for their use as the health insurance premiums of indirect contributors.
Yes.
Yes,
Are
Your
they
Honor.
not, is it not a special purpose?
Well, they are received
Yes.
as premiums, Your Honor.
Yes, correct. So, but it is, they are received as
Premium
premiums. Okay. But does that fact change the purpose for which these funds were constituted in the first place?
I think PhilHealth definitely observes that purpose, Your Honor. So it books these funds as premium payments.
Correct.
Use them as premium payments. And so, in fact, once these funds are received by PhilHealth, they become part of the assets of PhilHealth, and they are a factor considered by PhilHealth in determining the benefit packages for members.
Yes.
So they are used, Your Honor.
All right. And from these assets, the law requires PhilHealth to set aside a portion called reserve funds, precisely to cover payments for the claims of beneficiaries, direct or indirect. There is no distinction.
Well,
Yes,
actually,
and
yeah.
that portion, according to Section 11, has to be used exclusively for the claims, to pay the claims of the beneficiaries. And if there is an excess, then additional programs should be set up to lessen the financial burden of the members. And if there is still an excess in the excess, then investment may be made. So, diverting the funds for another purpose, like to finance the unprogrammed projects of the government, does that deviate from the special purpose?
I respectfully say no, Your Honor. And that is because the reserve fund, Your Honor, is not from the appropriations from the government. The reserve fund of PhilHealth is coming from the accumulated revenues of PhilHealth.
Yes.
I think that's
Yes,
Now,
so PhilHealth has accumulated revenues. It also has accumulated liabilities.
that's
Yes.
correct. Yes, Your Honor.
All
Yeah.
right. So, flash on the screen is the 2022 financial statements of PhilHealth. Please flash. Yes. (2022) financial statements of PhilHealth. Per PhilHealth's financial statements as of December 31, 2022, PhilHealth had total assets of 451 billion plus and total liabilities of 425 billion plus. So, for 2022, based on PhilHealth's financial statement, which it submitted to COA, it had a balanced equity this time of 26 billion plus. Notably, from 1 trillion plus insurance contract liabilities in 2021, PhilHealth in 2022 significantly reduced this amount to only 266 billion plus. In short, based on PhilHealth's figures, there was a substantial reduction by around 75% from the original figure in 2021. But per independent auditor's report dated June 29, 2023, COA issued a disclaimer of opinion against PhilHealth's financial statements in 2022. According to COA, it cannot express an opinion on the accompanying financial statement of PhilHealth because they have not been able to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence to provide a basis for an audit opinion on these financial statements. Please flash the disclaimer of opinion. And may I request Attorney Cuevas to read a portion of COA's basis for disclaimer of opinion on the provision of ICLs.
With the permission of the court, the faithful representation in the financial statements for insurance contract liabilities amounting to 266.873 billion pesos as of December 31, 2022 could not be ascertained due to the following factors. A, the completeness and accuracy of the premium and claims data could not be established, thereby casting doubt on the reliability of the reported figures. Letter B, the actuarial valuation report, which is intended to provide an assessment of the adequacy of the ICL, is not prepared and submitted on an annual basis. And letter C, the PhilHealth Board of Directors did not adequately consider factors related to general purpose financial reporting when approving the final amount of the provision for insurance contract liabilities, contradicting Insurance Commission Circular Letter Number 2018-18 dated March 9, 2018, Philippine Accounting Standards and Conceptual Framework for Financial Reporting.
So,
Your Honor, please.
yes, Mr. Yes, may I speak first?
Yes,
All right. So, does it mean that the balance equity of PhilHealth in 2022 of 26 billion plus is not accurate?
I think if the court might find it useful, Your Honors, to get an expert opinion on these COA opinions, we have in the court a commissioner of the Commission on Audit, Douglas Malilim, Your Honors.
All right. Is he around?
Yes, Your
Yes.
Honors. Yes.
All right. What's his name again?
Commissioner Douglas Malilim, Your Honors.
Malili.
Malilim.
Manlili. Commissioner.
Malilim.
Manlili. Huh? Malinlin. Malinlin. This morning. All right. Yes, sir. You may sit down in the meantime. A commissioner, yes. Yes, Chief. Okay.
Good afternoon, Your Honors.
Okay. May I interrupt Justice Javier because I'd like to ask a few questions since we're dealing with COA reports. This adverse finding by COA on the balance sheet of PhilHealth, were they subjected to audit observation memo?
Yes, Mr. Chief Justice.
And they were addressed by the PhilHealth management
They were.
before coming
Honor.
out with the financial report?
They were, Your Honor.
Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
My next question is the balance equity of PhilHealth in 2022 of 26 billion plus, based on the observations of COA, may not be accurate, Mr. Commissioner.
For this calendar year, Your Honor, COA issued an adverse opinion considering that the interplay between the assets and the liabilities were materially misstated, resulting in a net equity that the net equity would be a balancing figure to simplify things, Your Honor. However, Your Honor, the main disclaimer was with regards the ICL. Your Honor, just to dispel what the nature of the ICL is it is not simply a liability. What the ICL is the difference between the discounted value of inflows and the discounted values of outflows. If I may direct your attention to a more recent report of the COA, the ICL, the definition is found in the notes of financial statements, note number 22. In simple terms, the ICL takes into account future collections of premiums and also future disbursements for claims benefits and other expenses. In effect, if the discounted value of your inflows is more than the discounted values of your outflows, there is no ICL value to talk about because our net discounted value would be positive. However, the reverse would be if the discounted value of your inflows or revenues is less than the discounted value of your expenses, primarily claims benefits, then an ICL would be set up. However, Your Honors, what we have here for PhilHealth, the main point of disclaimer or the reason why COA has been issuing either a disclaimer or a qualified opinion is the fact that we could not readily ascertain the level of the ICL that PhilHealth should present in its financial statements. If I may direct Your Honors to your attention to page 52 of the notes to financial statements, or the following page thereof, page 53. Page 53 lists down the assumptions that were used by the actuary in coming up with the ICL values. If I may, Your Honor. Note 25.4, which is found in the notes to financial statements, particularly page 53 thereof, of the audited financial statements of PhilHealth for calendar year 2023, lists down certain assumptions. For the record, if I may, Your Honors, the change in the estimate are due to the following. The first group says increases in outflows and future benefit payments. And there are 5 matters of enumeration in there. But if I may direct your attention, Your Honors, to the next grouping, which is the decrease in inflows or future contributions. The first assumption there is a reduction in government subsidy. So, Your Honors, just to reiterate, the ICL is not purely liability. It is really the gap between discounted inflows and the discounted outflows. The main reason why COA finds the ICL computation not reliable, but COA could not pinpoint the true number, is the assumptions that are made to come up with the ICL. And if I may point out likewise, the very first assumption on the reduction of government subsidies comes to a point where you may have an ICL computation where if the assumption is 0 subsidies from government, therefore we only have contributions from the paying contributors, you will have a very large ICL. However, the reason why COA also makes a disclaimer is the ICL for indirect contributors is funded, supposed not to be funded by the paying contributors. If we take a look at the entirety of the inflows are subsidies or appropriations by government, And the mechanism in there, in the law itself, Your Honors, Section 10 and Section 37 of the Universal Act itself mandates the Department of Health and the PhilHealth to actually request for a supplemental budget to comply or to achieve what is laid down as programs of the Act, such that if the supplemental budget mechanism is utilized by PhilHealth, in the event where your indirect contributions are less than what government actually pays for the indirect beneficiaries, PhilHealth and DOH should actually come in and request for the supplemental budget. If it does its mandate, what will happen on an ICL computation is that it should be zero. The net present value or the discounted value of inflows and the discounted value of outflows for indirect contributions with the supplemental budgeting feature should actually zero out. If we take a look at the ICL computations for direct contributions, what we have, Your Honors, is a history where PhilHealth's contributions, meaning premium collections, as against the claim benefits, the gap is actually a positive gap. Your Honors, that's the reason why we have been studying a more reasonable approach to the ICL. And Your Honors, if I may, we have the same occurrence with SSS and GSIS. With the evidence, although external to the case, but PhilHealth not being taken into isolation, the ICL levels for these two other institutions actually make the members' equity of these two corporations negative as well. So, if Your Honors, maybe advancing a question, Your Honors, is why is the nature of the ICL? So that as a briefing, Your Honors, the ICL came about because of a standard of accounting reporting, where sometime in the year 2020, the Department of Finance, in coordination with COA, in coordination with Sisig Juarez Velay and Company, an auditing firm, and in coordination with the IMF, took into account possible contract risk exposures of SSS, PhilHealth, GSIS, PhilGuarantee, and including the other government financial institutions, which were under contract to give social benefits. The statement in there for ICL focused on setting up insurance contract liabilities for paying members. That was a very clear statement issued by then Secretary Dominguez in the year 2020. Such that on this note, there was a requirement to set up the ICL to check the health of these entities in complying with their social benefit obligations, because that has been a worldwide practice. It was applied to PhilHealth, but the application to PhilHealth may have to take a bit of divergence. PhilHealth, because of the Universal Health Act, in fact, this started in Republic Act 7875. Republic Act 7875 made PhilHealth not simply purely membership coverage. There was an indigent coverage in 7875, way back in 1995. But the funding for the indigent sector was not coming from the national government. It was coursed through the local governments. So that was a different case. But in 2019, when the Universal Healthcare Act came about, PhilHealth became a bit of a hybrid. it had purely members, then it had also the indirect contributors. If we take a look at the purely members part, based on its history, the ICL, now knowing it to be the discounted value, would not be set up because at this present time, there is really a very wide gap positively between premium collections and benefit claim payments. However, for the ICL part on the indirect contributors, if there is no subsidy or there is no GAA counterpart, it would be true that the ICL is negative. But the assumptions that are found in the ICL computations take out or reduce by making the assumption that there is a reduced government subsidy. In other words, a GAA provision lower than what PhilHealth should have spent. If the assumption now comes into play where PhilHealth and the Department of Health took upon themselves the mechanisms of requesting for a supplemental budget, the worst case scenario should be 0 ICL if government puts up the deficiency required for the claims benefits expense, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you.
So what is the status now of PhilHealth? Does it have, with respect to its ICLs, considering that the subsidy of the government is unpredictable?
Your Honor.
So will it result in a positive ICL or a negative ICL?
Your Honors, if PhilHealth and the Department of Health do not employ the supplemental budget mechanism, that will result to a negative ICL on the part of the indirect contributions.
Right? Is that good to the solvency of or the ability of PhilHealth to pay its liabilities to its members and indirect beneficiaries?
The budgetary requirement, Your Honor, is required by law for government to fill in. However, Your Honors, aside from the supplemental budget features that we find in Republic Act 11223, government has also put itself as under a sovereign guarantee because Republic Act 7875, which created the PhilHealth, actually guarantees that the social benefits under the act should be called in by government. If we take a look at PhilHealth in isolation as a private corporation, which should not be guaranteed by government, if it continues that it has to pay more without any other subsidy, the worst case scenario happens. We have a corporation where the paying members actually subsidize the non-paying members because the access, we cover every Filipino.
Commissioner, thank you very much. But I just want to clarify this. All right. The GAA, Section 1D specifically, requires GOCCs, including PhilHealth, to review and reduce. With respect to PhilHealth, review and reduce to produce funds that may be transferred to the Department of Finance. Does that entail reopening the books of PhilHealth?
Your Honors, reopening the books means we adjust what the books present.
Yes.
Your Honors, if I may, the financial statements, but taking out what COA reserves as
No, I'm
Non-reliable.
talking about, Mr. Commissioner,
Yes, Your Honor.
about the directive of under the GAA, okay, for GOCCs to review and reduce financial obligations for the purpose of transferring funds to the Treasury to finance unprogrammed projects. In doing that, does PhilHealth have to reopen its books and renege on some obligations that it has already incurred? Because it's reviewing past transactions.
Yeah.
Yes.
May, Your Honor.
Yes.
Your Honor, the books need not be reopened. The GAA is effectively for 2024. The financial statements of PhilHealth, Your Honor, as of 2023 stands. The directive in the GAA, Your Honor, would take effect in 2024. The transactions for 2024 are still
Excuse me, Commissioner. The provision of 1D says that the review and reduction should be done on the financial obligations of PhilHealth in 2021, 2022, and 2023.
Your
For
Honors,
the purpose of producing funds to finance the unprogrammed projects of the government under the 2024 GAA.
Your Honors, the amount or the review would mean simply to use the prior years as a basis, but not exactly to reopen the books, Your Honor. It's like taking a look at what was the history of PhilHealth as far as certain reserves, as far as funding, as far as expenditures. The GAA makes mention of taking a look at the reserves, if I may, Your Honor, and just to refer to the provision of the GAA. Your Honor, my apologies, I can't seem to find my copy. But if I remember right, Your Honor, the setting of the review, or one of the factors to be considered in the review, would be the amounts of expenditures or disbursements for the previous years. So this would also be the basis of looking at the fund balance required under the GAA, Your Honor.
Resulting from the review and reduction of their reserve funds. Reserve funds, Mr. Commissioner, the money that was transferred to the Department of Finance included funds coming from the budget of PhilHealth in 2021, 2022, and 2023.
Your Honor, if I may, the reserve can be viewed as a point of cutoff, but the review of prior years could just be used as considerations of factors to make a reasonable determination regarding what reduction is required for the purpose of GAA, Your Honor.
Right. So where did PhilHealth get the money if it did not reopen the transactions that already took place in 2021, 22, and 2023? Where did it get the funds?
Your Honor, the requirement, and especially for Republic Act 11223, in Section 11 mentions of a reserve fund. The reserve fund, Your Honor, the mechanism in the reserve fund, as how COA takes a look at it, is there are funds for current year operating expenses. And there is what we technically call the reserve fund, which should not exceed 2 years of program reserve funds computed actuarially. Your Honor, if I may, the reserve fund indicated therein is a reserve that is set by the Board of Directors of PhilHealth. But the limit is imposed by the law not to exceed 2 years worth of program funds, actuarially computed. So we have, Your Honors, a scenario where as of 2022, or as of, assuming, Your Honor, 2020, if we have accumulated revenues, Your Honor, of roughly 450 billion, just rounding off the numbers, Your Honor, of 450 billion. If the reserve fund has been set by the board at the level of 250 billion, because the range allowed by the board to be set is 0 to 2 years. So if the board says 250 billion, considering the history of our claims, benefits, expenses, then we have a gap between 450 and 250. The reserve proper, Your Honor, is 250. The accumulated reserve, Your Honor, would be 450. That would generate a gap of 200 billion, Your Honor. The reserve fund, Your Honors, that you have seen historically with PhilHealth is what the board sets. If the board sets 0 reserve fund, if they deem that their inflows is more than their outflows, that's within the board discretion. But if the board sets a reasonable level, say, of 250 billion, as against its accumulated reserves of 450 billion, that leaves a surplus or a gap of 200 billion, Your Honor. Speaking hypothetically, just for computations, Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Commissioner. Setting or assigning a portion of the assets as reserve funds is never discretionary on the part of PhilHealth because the law uses the word shall. And you speak of excess, not more than 2 times, okay, the actuarial estimate. That is the limit provided under Section 11. But Section 11 also states that should there be an excess, how should the excess be used? How should the excess be used? Yes, Mr. Commissioner, would you know?
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
Understanding the limit of the mandate of COA for audit, we delineate the financial presentation and fraud audits, which is the mandate of COA. But when it comes to the business judgment rule of PhilHealth's board, and it is within the law that they comply with, Your Honor, COA's mandate on audit as well as compliance starts there. But when, if we disengage, Your Honor, the word discretion to the business judgment, because we require the boards of all GOCCs to actually think about prudence, think about the business judgment rule. then that is a matter for the board to decide, Your Honor.
Yes, that's why my point is this. When it comes to reserving funds for the program of PhilHealth, it is never discretionary. It's always mandatory to reserve funds to cover the claims of the members and beneficiaries. All right.
I agree, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Commissioner, just one more thing. Considering, of course, we can claim that there is no need or the books need not be opened when you review the transactions that have already transpired in 2021, 2022, and 2023. But for me, that is fiction. You really have to open the books. So when PhilHealth opened the books, its books in 2021, 2022, and 2023 to review and reduce, all right, was not PhilHealth encroaching on the exclusive constitutional mandate of COA to examine and audit the public records, financial public records of government?
If I may, Your Honor.
Yes.
When mentioning the books, opening the books, Your Honor, when COA says we reopen the books, we subject it to a re-audit, Your Honor. But in this case, Your Honor, what happens is the books we deem to be final because we have published the financial reports. The review matter, Your Honor, is simply a matter of taking a look at the historical expenditures in order to validate the possible funds or the possible reserves as it stands at a certain point in time, Your Honor.
Yes. So there may be obligations that were already incurred, which PhilHealth may have reneged from because it has to review and reduce
Your Honor, if I may.
its obligations to a reasonable level.
Your Honor, if I may. On the part of auditors, Your Honor, when we mention obligations, we refer, Your Honors, to the liabilities. If there are liabilities that have been set in 2021, assuming these liabilities get paid even in subsequent years, they remain to be liabilities, Your Honor, and therefore should not be reneged on. However, Your Honor, the nature of reserves is different from liabilities. Your Honor, the liabilities, if your hospitals would claim for benefits, then PhilHealth is obligated to pay. However, Your Honor, in the matter of reserves, which are set up provisions as far as the law is concerned, they are reserves, Your Honor, and do not necessarily partake of the nature of an absolute liability, Your Honor.
Yes. May I read the provision? Okay. Section 11, paragraph G. No portion of the reserve fund or income thereof shall accrue to the general fund of the national government or any of its agencies or instrumentalities, including government-owned or controlled corporations. And then your basis, okay, what the provision, Section 1D of the GAA states is that government-owned or controlled corporations from any remainder resulting from the review and reduction of their reserve funds. Reserve funds. Reserve funds are sacred under Section 11. Reserve funds are untouchable.
If I may, Your Honor.
Yes.
Going back to my example a while ago, Your Honor, there is a difference between the accumulated revenues and the reserve. Section 11, Your Honor, of Republic Act 11223 mentions two terms: accumulated revenues, which is historically what you have as the difference between premium collections, subsidies, as against the normal operating expenditures or administrative expenditures of PhilHealth, but more importantly, the claims benefits. So the gap between these two from the time that PhilHealth was established is what we can, for simplification purposes, is the accumulated revenues. The reserve, Your Honor, is a different value. It says, out of the accumulated revenues, the first thing we have to disengage, as though it is not to be touched, is just ensure you have enough for current year's operations, just to make sure you're good for the next year. The next requirement is now the reserve, which provides a range between, it makes no mention, the law makes no mention of a floor, but it makes mention of a ceiling. So, going back to the example, Your Honor, if we have accumulated revenues of 450 billion, but we have a reserve set at 250, we have a gap of 200 billion, Your Honor. The restriction of Section 11 lies on the reserve. And that reserve, Your Honor, based on the law, is set by the board. But there is a guide, which is the actuarial computation. Therefore, Your Honor, if we go through Section 11, it says, keep the reserve inviolate. Don't touch. But that is the reserve, Your Honor. The reserve not to exceed maximum, the board, using its business judgment, sets it. Make sure you have enough for current year's operation, then that's it. But do not touch the reserve. Therefore, if the reserve or any income thereof can also be construed, Your Honor, where the reserve is not the accumulated revenue. If the reserve is 250 billion, any income of the 250 billion is something that cannot be returned to government. We now have to make a certain judgment, Your Honors, on what has not been reserved, but which is still part of the accumulated revenues, Your Honor.
Is it also possible that the reserve funds would be less at the end of the calendar year, less than the liabilities of PhilHealth, chargeable to the reserve funds?
That is possible.
Yes, that's possible. Yes. So if that happens, where will PhilHealth charge the amount that cannot be covered by the reserve funds?
Your Honors, in a situation where your accumulated revenues is not even sufficient to cover your reserve, we have a situation where there is really no gap, where your reserves are your accumulated revenues. And this is one very good example where we have 2019, where the set reserve was to the tune of 360 billion, but the amount that we have solely for accumulated revenues was much less. So that gives us a picture of what can happen, Your Honor. In 2023, Your Honor, it was reversed. You have accumulated revenues to the tune of roughly 464 or let's say 2022, 464, but you have a reserve to the level of 280 billion. Your Honors, if we take a look at 280 billion, assuming we disregard actuaries, because even COA has not relied on the actuarial computation.
Okay.
If we use the rule of thumb and take a look at the historical claims benefits of PhilHealth, if I may, Your Honor, take a look at my figures. In 2021, Your Honor, the claim benefits, the total claim benefits, this includes direct contributors and indirect, amounted to 140 billion pesos. In 2022, and this is borne out by the audited financial statements, Your Honor, 143 billion. In 2023, there was an abnormal drop in the claim benefits to the tune of 74 billion. If we were to disregard actuarial computations and we were to set the maximum ceiling of claims benefits as the program expenditures, if we were to disregard 2023 being a very low number and just focus ourselves on 2021 and 2022, the sum of the claims benefits for these 2 years would be 283 billion, Your Honor, such that without digging further into the business judgment of the PhilHealth Board, Your Honor, the total of 280 billion, assuming that is the amount set up, and we go against 464 billion of the accumulated reserves of 2023, there seems to be a gap where the reserve of 2 years has been complied with, but the accumulated reserves or the accumulated revenues, which is not a reserve, is 464B, Your Honor. There is a gap between the two numbers, Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Commissioner. Now, PhilHealth is not only obliged to provide reserve funds to pay off the claims of the beneficiaries and contributors. So, to say that a portion of the accumulated benefits or revenues may be considered a free portion. A free portion.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, or a surplus is possible only if all the programs mandated for PhilHealth to fulfill have been set up. Because PhilHealth is required to set up certain programs, like a fund to secure benefit payouts to members prior to their becoming lifetime members. Has PhilHealth complied with this?
Your Honor, the question...
You cannot answer that because you're not from PhilHealth.
I'm not from PhilHealth, Your Honor.
Yes.
But if I may, Your Honor, you make mention of the lifetime members, Your Honor.
Not the lifetime, yes, becoming lifetime members. Yes, because that is under Section 11 of the UHCA.
Yes.
PhilHealth has also must also set up the following funds. Has PhilHealth set up these funds before it declares a surplus?
Your Honor, the provision for lifetime members' benefits is likewise accrued, Your Honor. It is part of the ICL. It's a small part of the ICL.
It's a small part,
Yes.
but has it been set up?
It has been set up, Your Honor.
Where is your proof of that compliance? And then to fund a fund to secure payouts to lifetime members, a fund for optional supplemental benefits subject to additional contributions. These are all programs that are required for PhilHealth to fulfill. And then there is a comprehensive outpatient benefit, including outpatient drug benefit and emergency medical services, and to gradually and steadily, consistently upgrade the program of PhilHealth such that on its 10th year, the contributors, those who cannot afford, may no longer be required to contribute.
Your Honors, that would already dwell on the operations of PhilHealth.
Correct.
If I may.
That's why
Yes, Your
we're all about operations here.
Yes, Your Honor.
So how can there be a surplus fund when the programs of PhilHealth required of it to set up under the law have not been set up at all? How can PhilHealth declare that it has surplus funds, aside from the fact that these funds are special funds for special purpose? Are the projects to be financed by the government for construction of the bridge, for maintenance of the roads? Is that a purpose that is akin or even related to the purpose of healthcare?
If I may, Your Honor, if we can let PhilHealth and the board answer and the OGCC answer that, Your Honor.
All
it
right.
goes beyond the
Anyway,
mandate of COA, Your Honor.
Mr. Commissioner, you have offered your wisdom. I'm just afraid that when the case of PhilHealth goes to your office for review, you might be charged with partiality or bias.
Your Honor, the process, as far as COA is concerned, Your Honor, we maintain our independence.
Yes, all
with
right.
regards to mandate.
So, Mr. Commissioner,
Yes,
your
Your Honor.
excuse. We don't want to burden you any further.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honors.
Yes.
Can I interject?
Yes, please.
Mr. Commissioner, you got appointed as a commissioner when?
Ad interim February 10. Your
2025.
Honor. Yes, Your Honor. Ad interim, Your Honor.
And you're the COA. Are you speaking here now as representing COA or as a resource person?
As a resource person, Your Honor.
But is that correct? You're a sitting COA commissioner.
Your Honor, we are going through the records just as a witness for the records of COA, Your Honor.
But the way I'm listening to your arguments, you are defending the position of the DOF.
Your Honor, this has been a COA discussion also, Your Honor. And we have also reviewed this in light not only of this case, Your Honor, but
So
for the
let me
implementation.
be clear. Are you speaking on behalf of the entire COA when you're speaking to the court now? Or are you speaking only from your knowledge as a COA commissioner?
As a COA commissioner, Your Honor.
So you're not here speaking for COA?
No, Your Honor.
Do you also audit the DOF?
We do, Your Honor.
Then isn't there a conflict of interest here?
Your Honor, we were requested, Your Honor, to discuss the records.
I know,
and the
but you're a
definition.
sitting commissioner.
Yes, Your Honor.
Don't you think there is a conflict of interest here? You're espousing views. The contending views are to be decided by this court. And now a sitting COA commissioner stands before the court. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
My apologies, Your Honor. I was requested to discuss the contents of the COA report, and objectively, this is part of our records, and we make the statement, Your Honor, based on this.
But you were not COA commissioner at the time these COA reports were made, right?
Yes, Your Honor. But we have the records, Your Honor, and just a matter of explaining what they contain, Your Honor.
Except that you're wearing too many hats. What hat are you wearing?
We apologize, Your Honor. I apologize, Your Honor.
May I, with leave of the Chief and Justice Ami, you mentioned that you discussed this among the members of the COA.
Yes, Your Honor.
So is there a special audit or a regular audit now of the transfer of funds? from the PhilHealth to government?
Your Honor,
So was there already a special audit or an audit?
no audit, Your Honor.
Okay, just to clarify.
Yes, Your Honor. This is, Your Honor, the 2024 audit will cover this, Your Honor. And our financial audit only starts this year,
Yes,
Your
because
Honor.
if there is no audit, then you are already expressing your opinions now, which we did not call you. You were offered by the respondents. And you did mention your opinion. And our fear is for you and for our co-equal constitutional body called the Commission on Audit, that it may affect the partiality. Just for you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you for that note. Well taken, Your Honor.
Your excuse, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice. Thank you, Your Honors.
The court will take a 5-minute break, please.
May we request everyone to please settle down. Thank you.
Yes, Chief Justice. Thank you. Okay. Attorney Hermosura, please. And another from PhilHealth, the Deputy Treasurer or the Senior Vice President. The President. Mr. Marino.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Please flash on the screen section 6A and B of the UHCA, which I request Attorney Cuevas to read into the records. Thank you.
Section 6, service coverage. Letter A, every Filipino shall be granted immediate eligibility and access to preventive, promotive, curative, rehabilitative, and palliative care for medical, dental, mental, and emergency health services, delivered either as population-based or individual-based health services, provided that the goods and services to be included shall be determined through a fair and transparent health technology assessment process. Letter B, within 2 years from the effectivity of this act, PhilHealth shall implement a comprehensive outpatient benefit, including outpatient drug benefit and emergency medical services in accordance with the recommendations of the Health Technology Assessment Council created under Section 34 hereof. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney Cuevas. May I ask the Treasurer, Deputy Treasurer, what specific projects of PhilHealth, if any, complied with this mandate?
Your Honor, again, I beg your pardon. This would be best answered by our colleague from PhilHealth Management, as these are operational questions.
So we recall the Senior Vice President, please. You may take your seat in the meantime, Deputy Treasurer.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Senior Vice President, can you please respond to the question of the court?
Yes, Your Honor. On the part of the item letter A, Your Honor, the PhilHealth, particularly on the individual based, Your Honor. Of course, the population base is being financed by the Department of Health. Now, Your Honor, every patient, every Filipino will be accorded by the National Health Insurance Program, Your Honor. Meaning, kung papasok po sila sa hospital, ay kino-covered po ng PhilHealth. Whether they are contributing or whether wala pong contribution. As mandated in this particular section 6A, Your Honor. So in other words, Your Honor, lahat po na Filipino needed to have a medical intervention, Your Honor, will be covered by PhilHealth, Your Honor.
All right.
On the part of letter
So
B.
what proof can you present to the court showing these specific projects of PhilHealth?
Your Honor, yes, Your Honor, it is the pronouncement of the corporation, Your Honor, that all Filipino citizens needed.
That's a mere pronouncement.
Your Honor.
What is your actual proof that you're complying with this mandate, that you have set up the program for comprehensive outpatient benefit, outpatient drug benefit, and emergency medical services?
Yes, Your Honor. We will submit, Your Honor, a document, Your Honor, that complying with this, Your Honor. And of course, Your Honor, on the part of the benefit claims that we incurred, Your Honor, we can see the increasing numbers of covered members, Your Honor, the time that we implemented the Universal Healthcare Law, Your Honor.
When did you start implementing this program?
Your Honor, the program implemented, signed into law in the year 2019, Your Honor. So with that,
So you started it in 2019?
yes,
You
Your Honor.
set up the program in 2019?
Meaning, Your Honor, the resident Filipino can avail of the benefits regardless of with contribution.
Yes,
without
my
contribution, Your Honor.
question is, did you set it up immediately in 2019?
Your Honor, yes, there were already some availment along that line, Your Honor, starting year 2019, Your Honor.
In the entire country?
Your Honor, the law, Universal Healthcare Law is covering the entire country, Your Honor.
But did you set it up in the entire country or just portions of?
Your Honor, the policy of PhilHealth is covering the entire country, Your Honor.
Yes. Have you set it up for the entire country or just certain territories or portions of the island of the Philippines?
Your Honor, that is the entire country, Your Honor.
All right. So how many have you set up?
Your Honor, when I say set up, Your Honor, the policy of PhilHealth, the implementation of the Universal Healthcare Law that covers every Filipino, Your Honor, implemented nationwide, Your Honor.
All right. Show us proof
Yes,
of
Your
that.
Honor.
What is the Health Technology Assessment Council?
Your Honor, maybe we can ask our company or from the Department of Health on the Health Technology Assessment, Your Honor.
Are you not supposed to set it up yourself, PhilHealth?
Your Honor, that is with the Department of Health, Your Honor.
The Health Technology Assessment Council? Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
It's created under Section 34.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you have no idea, no knowledge about the creation of HTAC?
Your Honor, I have a limited knowledge on its stock establishment, Your Honor. So, if
Yes, who can respond?
Your Honor, may we request, Your Honor, ASIC Albert Domingo, Your Honor, of the Department of Health.
Don't take off your robe yet. All right.
Good afternoon, Your Honors.
Yes,
Dr.
Assistant Secretary, what is your name?
Dr. Albert Francis Domingo, Assistant Secretary of the Department of Health.
Are you a lawyer?
No, Your Honor.
May law units. You have law units?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Are you enrolled in law
No
school?
longer, Your Honor.
No longer. You're a dropout?
No, Your Honor.
From what school? The Chief Justice wanted to know.
From the University of the Philippines, Your
Oh,
Honor.
that's why you dropped out. Mr. Assistant Secretary, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honors.
So what is this HTAC?
The Health Technology Assessment Council, Your Honor, was created by the Universal Healthcare Act in 2019. It is a system to look at the cost effectiveness of interventions. For example, if there is a medicine that has been long used for a condition like diabetes, metformin in the 1950s, and a new medicine like what you call a GLP-1 agonist, semaglutide, more popularly known as Ozempic, is actually proposed. The Health Technology Assessment Council will have to evaluate if, assuming that both drugs already have certificates of product registration under the FDA, if the Ozempic, the new drug, is actually more cost-effective compared to giving the same drug as before since the 1950s.
Thank you. The HTAC's role under the law is stated under paragraph B of section 6A and B. All right. So what exactly is the role of the HTAC in setting up a comprehensive outpatient benefit, including outpatient drug benefit and emergency medical services program?
Your Honor, based on a discussion of a legislation of the UHC law, which I personally took part of as a technical consultant of the WHO in 2017 and 18 thereabouts, the HTA Council is supposed to evaluate the benefit package as to the components of each. For example, if a primary care package or a comprehensive outpatient primary care benefit package is to be constructed, it looks at the list of laboratory tests, it looks at the list of drugs, and it submits a report to PhilHealth and the Department of Health on whether or not a particular test is cost-effective, Your Honor.
Yes. So it is your recommendation that is required to set up a comprehensive outpatient benefit program, etc. Have you recommended for this purpose?
Your Honor, if it pleases the court, I am not with the HTA. It's a separate institution. It was created under the Department of Health initially for the first 5 years of the Universal Healthcare Act. And then it is now transitioned by law to the Department of Science and Technology.
All right. So will you be in a position to name the specific projects of PhilHealth which complied with its mandate under the mentioned provisions?
Yes, Your Honor. If it pleases the court, I was the alternate of the Secretary of Health for the Benefits Committee of the corporation, at least from December 2023 all the way to around April 2024, during which I personally chaired the committee which management submitted to its proposals. A number of benefits which were approved rather while I was the chair together with other board members includes the increase in the case rates, the initial 30% increase around February 2024. There were also some proposals that later on I was no longer chairing. It was the secretary himself, but I was still sitting in the committees. And all of these benefit packages have been approved. There are PhilHealth circulars posted on the internet. They include a comprehensive dental package, rather, Your Honor, that offers checkups.
They have been approved when?
The approvals came around October, November, Your Honor.
Of?
2024, Your Honor.
All right. Just last year.
That is
Late
correct,
last
Your Honor.
year.
Yes, Your Honor.
But doesn't the law require these programs to be set up within 2 years from 2019?
If I may, Your Honor, that is correct. However, there is a supervening circumstance that happened. The pandemic happened. When the Universal Healthcare Act was being set up, there was in fact a 10-year timeline for which all institutions with varying roles are to comply. No one expected that nCoV or the COVID-19 virus SARS-CoV-2 would come out in December 2019. So there was a good 3 years where everything was thrown off, if you may, Your
Would you
Honor.
know where the PhilHealth gets the funding to secure benefit payouts to members prior to their becoming lifetime members? Because this is also a mind under Section 11 of the UHCA for PhilHealth to also set up the following funds. First, a fund to secure benefit payouts to members prior to their becoming lifetime members. Has PhilHealth complied with this? Would you know?
To my knowledge, Your Honor, as a alternate member of the board, this is the National Health Insurance Fund. It is a pay-as-you-go fund wherein as premium collections are brought in, the corporation pays for benefit claims that comes out.
To secure benefit payouts to members prior to their becoming lifetime members. Has this program fund been set up?
That is correct, Your Honor. That is
When?
The PhilHealth law is since 1995, Your Honor, but historically it draws its origins from the Medical Care Act. Onwards, Your Honor.
Yes, so it's ongoing. Where does the PhilHealth get the funding for this program?
Your Honor, since the 1969, when it was still Medicare, it's always been about premium contributions voluntarily. In 1995, they sought to expand this to include still voluntary membership.
So now, where does PhilHealth get the funding for this program?
The corporate operating budget, Your Honor, sources its funds from premium contributions.
Yes, is it enough? The premium contributions to cover the setting up of this fund?
It is more than enough, Your Honor, based on the current benefit package designs.
All right, it is more than enough.
Given the current benefit package designs, Your Honor, yes.
So, given the package...
The current benefit package designs, Your Honor.
All right. So PhilHealth has enough money to put up this fund?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your
All
Honor.
right. So where does it gets the money from the members themselves?
It's a combination, Your Honor. That's one source, premium contributions from direct contributors. Then there is a government subsidy for indirect contributors.
And it never ran short of money to continue this fund?
It
No?
never runs short, Your Honor.
Never short?
Never, Your
Yes. So how much fund has PhilHealth assigned for this purpose in 2024?
The corporate operating budget, Your Honor, I don't have the exact numbers. I have an idea for 2025. The benefit budget is around 271 billion out of the total corporate operating budget of 284
And you
billion.
expect to raise these funds exclusively from the contributions?
Not only from contributions, Your Honor, there is also the premium subsidy for the indirect contributors.
All right. So this is a continuing expense on the part of PhilHealth.
In my
right?
non-accounting understanding, Your Honor, yes.
Yes. So this is one of your continuing obligations, year in, year out.
To my understanding, Your Honor, the
Yes.
obligations once paid as a claim, they already end, Your Honor.
So the second one is a fund to secure payouts to lifetime members. Has PhilHealth complied with this?
To my personal knowledge, Your Honor, I am not aware of that particular
You're not
fund.
aware. So who is aware?
If I may recommend Senior Vice President Lim Siaco in charge of accounts.
Are you sure you're not abusing him? Who?
SVP Lim Siaco,
The
Your Honor.
SVP. Are you the SVP? You're the
Or
deputy.
It can also be either
Can
of the
we
two, Your
recall
Honor.
the SVP? He's hiding himself already. Oh. All right. So the second fund that PhilHealth should put up is a fund to secure payouts to lifetime members. Have you set this up, Mr. Senior Vice President?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. So what proof can you present to the court? You have? Do you have a proof right now?
With the indulgence of the court, Your Honor, let me check my record, Your Honor.
So, yes. And how much do you assign for this fund?
Your Honor, on the part of the provision for the lifetime, Your Honor, we set up in the year 2019 the amount of 28.6 billion, Your Honor.
26 million.
28.6
All
billion,
right.
Your Honor.
Where did you get the money in 2019?
Your Honor, we got this money from the returned earnings of the corporation, Your Honor, in setting up this.
Returned earnings, you mean investments?
Not investment, Your Honor. Returned
Where did-
earnings meaning the accumulated revenue of the corporation, Your Honor.
After deducting the expenses. So these funds for these, the money for these funds come from the accumulated revenues.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. So it's also a continuing expense.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So a fund for optional supplemental benefits. Did you set up this fund as well?
The optional supplemental benefits, Your Honor, the corporation is working on it. And
So there is no compliance yet.
this is a continuing preparation of the corporation. Your Honor.
Preparation. How much time do you need to set it up? How long have you been preparing?
I think, Your Honor, this one is for 3 years already. The preparation
You've
for the
been
supplemental.
preparing for 3 years.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Because this is
So when will you end the preparation phase?
hopefully, Your Honor, it will be completed and implemented this year, Your Honor. So,
So you also need money for this.
Your Honor, yes, Your Honor, we need for the initial implementation, Your Honor. But of course, this supplemental has a contribution to be collected, Your Honor.
So everything is charged to the contributions
Your
of the
Honor,
members.
yes, Your Honor, because this is a supplemental, Your Honor, on top of the basic one. So contribution will be collected for the benefit of on top supplemental benefit of the members, Your Honor.
So these funds are continuing. The third one has not even been set up.
Yes,
And
Your
you
Honor.
need money for that, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where will you get the money again?
Your Honor, it is the understanding of the corporation, Your Honor, that we can set aside money from our from the funds, Your Honor, as part of the
All
corporate operating budget. to set up initially this supplemental budget, Your Honor. And of course, once it's
So
already...
you have some unfunded programs, correct?
Your Honor,
Yes.
Your Honor, as of this time, Your Honor, it is not, we cannot say that this is unfunded because it is not yet set up, Your Honor. However, if this is already approved by the board, Your Honor, and we can implement this one and approve the source of
And
money.
you're
for the initial.
preparing to approve it within the year,
Your Honor, we will be proposing to the board, Your Honor.
proposing to the board. So that will also need funding, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So where will you get the funding? You
Uh,
still don't know where to get the funding?
Your Honor, two things, Your Honor. For the initial implementation from the corporate operating budget, that's number one. Number two, Your Honor, from the contribution, Your Honor, of the members that will be form part of this supplemental benefits, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, flash on the screen is Chapter 9, Section 37 of the UHCA on the sources of PhilHealth's appropriations, which we already mentioned earlier, including sin taxes, premium contributions of members, annual appropriations of DOH, and national government subsidy to PhilHealth included in the GAA. Where does the government get the money to cover its subsidy to PhilHealth?
Right now, Your Honor, on the part of the item, saan yung kanina? Yung syntax, Your Honor, that is one source, Your Honor.
But syntax is different, is a different source. Yes,
Your Honor.
syntax is a different source. The law mentions at least 5 sources. One of them is government subsidy. So it's different from the syntaxes.
Your Honor, if may I,
Yes.
the sources of revenue, income of PhilHealth right now, Your Honor, as part of its premium are from syntax, Your Honor, and then number 2, from the premium contribution, Your Honor.
So the government does not give subsidy independent of syntax.
The other one, Your Honor, is PCS on PAGCOR, Your Honor.
Yes, that is also enumerated.
Yes, Your Honor.
But national government subsidy is an independent source. So you mean to say national government subsidy does not exist?
Your Honor, as far as our records is concerned, from the national government, again, we have the syntax, the PCS
Yes.
and PAGCOR, Your Honor.
So it's meant to be an additional source of appropriations.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you're now saying that it has not come to pass. It has never been a source of appropriations. All right. So all taxes levied on the people, levied on the people, such as the sin taxes and contributions from PAGCOR. What else? And other
And of course, Your Honor, the premium from the members.
premiums from
Yes.
the members. All right, all right. They all constitute the special fund, right? For special purpose.
Your Honor, those are funds for the National Health Insurance Program, Your Honor.
For who?
National Health Insurance Program, Your Honor.
Correct. All right. So there are 6 sources of appropriations under Section 37, Chapter 9 of the law. All right. Tax, incremental sin tax collections, 50% of the national government share from the income of PAGCOR, 40% of the charity fund, premium contributions, annual appropriations of the DOH included in the GAA, and national government subsidy to PhilHealth included in the GAA. So among these appropriations or sources of appropriations, which one has not been received by PhilHealth?
Your Honor, among the six, Your Honor, again, as I mentioned kanina, the syntax, we have that one. The PCS in Pagcor, we have that one. The premium, we have that one, Your Honor. On the part of the subsidy, Your Honor, I have no idea on that one, Your Honor, including on the part of the Department of Health, appropriating fund for PhilHealth, Your Honor.
All right. Once the funds are received by PhilHealth from any of its sources of appropriations, is there an existing system, I've asked this before, by which PhilHealth can segregate these funds according to their sources?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, but you agree that all funds appropriated for PhilHealth are special funds for a special purpose.
Your Honor, the funds is for the National Health Insurance Program, Your
Correct.
Honor.
Is that not a special purpose?
I refer, Your Honor, to...
No, I'm asking you.
Your Honor,
Yes.
that is intended for PhilHealth's operation, Your
Correct.
Honor.
Correct. For a special purpose, not for the operations of any other department of government.
Your Honor, on the part of PhilHealth, that is the money that we collected
Should be exclusively used for
the
PhilHealth
National Health
purposes.
Insurance Program, Your Honor.
Correct. Thanks for that. All right. Should the funds coming from sin taxes and members' premium contributions be differently treated from the funds coming from the government subsidy, if at all government subsidy is given?
Your Honor, on the part of syntax, Your Honor, subsidy for the indigent that is considered recorded book by PhilHealth as premium income, Your Honor. And on the part of the PCS in Pagcor, which has a specific identified purposes of increasing improvement of the benefits, Your Honor, we treated that one as a trust liability, Your Honor, and it is not treated as premium income, Your Honor.
Can you point to any portion of the sources of appropriations under the GAA which may be diverted to a different purpose, other than ensuring that all Filipinos are guaranteed equitable access to quality and affordable healthcare goods and services and protected against financial risk?
Sorry, Your Honor, I am not
You
familiar,
cannot point
familiar
to
with that
any portion that can be diverted.
Sorry, Your Honor, I cannot identify that one, Your Honor.
Yes. Okay. Actually, the national government subsidy is a source of appropriations for PhilHealth to specifically benefit indirect contributors such as senior citizens, indigents, etc. Do these people deserve less protection than the direct contributors such as the employees in the private or public sector?
Your Honor, on the part of PhilHealth's implementation, pantay-pantay po.
Pantay-pantay.
They also receive that kind of coverage as the direct contributors
All right.
receive, Your Honor.
So, if we divert the government subsidy to unprogrammed appropriations of the government, what will happen to the senior citizens, indigents, etc., when they become ill?
Your Honor, the laws provides, Your Honor, that every Filipino will be accorded with the coverage, National Health Insurance coverage, Your Honor.
Yes.
Meaning, the senior citizens, the indigent, PWD will also be given that kind of coverage of
Yes.
PhilHealth.
So the
even right now.
money should not be diverted
Your
to
Honor,
any other purpose.
Your Honor, they can avail of the benefits, Your Honor.
All right. Okay. Yes, your excuse in the meantime. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Honor.
Mr. Senior. You may rest at the back. All right. Okay, may I also the court directs PhilHealth to submit within 10 days from today its actuarial valuation reports for the computation of the provision of the ICL in 2021, 2022, and 2023, and its summary of accrued liabilities per region for the said years. Meantime, Attorney Hermosura, you're also excused. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Solicitor General, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honors.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Solicitor General. Mr. Solicitor General, can you please refer to the provision in the law, UHCA law, regarding which reads, no portion of the reserve fund or income thereof shall accrue to the general fund of the national government or any of its agencies or instrumentalities, including government-owned or controlled corporation.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is this the first time last year? Was it the first time that GOCCs or any government agency for that matter were required to review and reduce their respective reserve funds for the purpose of producing funds to be transferred to the National Treasury?
As far as I know, this is the first time, Your Honor.
All right. So would you agree that in so doing, review and reduce their respective reserve funds? Okay. The PhilHealth specifically reopened the closed books. Its closed books in 2021, 2022, and 2023.
Your Honor, I am not really very sure about the technical meaning of reopening one's books. But as far as I know, based on that provision of the special provision 1D, chapter 43, on the unprogrammed appropriations, what is simply required is for the GOCCs to review and reduce to a reasonable level their reserve funds on the basis of their historical disbursements over the past few years, 3 years to be more specific.
Yes, Mr.
So it's a matter of
Solicitor General.
simply looking at the data pertaining to their annual disbursements for 2021, 2022, and 2023.
All right. And because of this review, the PhilHealth was able to reduce its reserve funds for these 3 years. And it is those funds that the PhilHealth transferred to the Bureau of Treasury.
No, Your Honor. They computed the reasonable amount of reserves based on actual disbursements for the past 3 years. And the remainder is the one that was used as basis for determining the amount to be remitted back to the National Treasury.
So do you mean to say, Mr. Solicitor General, that for 2021, there was an excess reserve funds?
Excess of reserve funds?
Funds, yes.
I would say that, excess of reserve funds in relation to what, Your Honor?
Reserve funds are specifically earmarked to answer or cover payments
Yes,
of
Your
the
Honor.
claims of beneficiaries. And if there is an excess, to fund programs that will ultimately reduce the financial responsibilities of the beneficiaries. And third, if there's still excess in the excess, to invest the same. So, Mr. Solicitor General, in 2021, was there excess reserve funds?
Your Honor, if we are going by the definition of reserve fund under Section 11 of the Universal Health Care Act, that reserve fund is determined by the actuarial computation.
Yes, Mr. Solicitor General, I have no quarrel with that. My point is, was there excess funds in 2021 coming from the reserve funds of PhilHealth?
Yes, the answer to that question is yes, Your
and
Honor.
Section 11 tells PhilHealth what to do with the excess funds.
Exactly, Your Honor.
Doesn't it? Yes?
No, Your Honor, there is no violation because that responsibility on the part of PhilHealth to make use of any excess over the reserve fund for the twin purposes of increasing benefit packages and reducing the contributions from the members is something that can be implemented within the period of 10 years. It's not something that has to be implemented immediately. So in other words, even if we have that special provision 1D, it does not mean that the obligations of PhilHealth to spend the excess over its reserve fund has been abandoned because that is something that can be complied with at some future time. It's
At some future time.
It's a 10-year period of implementation, Your
and
Honor.
this is the sixth year.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you have not started with the programs yet because according to you, the excess funds may be devoted for other purposes because anyway, the timeline is 10 years.
No, Your Honor, there is no inconsistency because as we speak, PhilHealth has been increasing its benefit packages even before Special Provision 1D came into effect. And more so after that provision, special provision, was enacted as part of the unprogrammed appropriations.
Yes, Mr.
We have seen a
Solicitor
slew of benefit increases over the past several months, Your Honor.
Several months, not only. Several months only.
But
when PhilHealth is required to do it from the time it has been created under UHCA.
That is very true, Your Honor,
Yes.
but this is a matter which is reserved to the Board of Directors of PhilHealth. This is
Yes.
a management
A
thing.
management and a business judgment. But then the judgment of PhilHealth to disburse its funds is limited by Section 11. That reserve funds, as it is named, is reserved and cannot be subject to the discretion of PhilHealth to be used for another purpose.
We are referring, Your Honor, to the excess over the reserve fund.
Yes, but the excess is also subject to the provision of Section 11. And Section 11 mentions the purposes for which this excess should have been used.
Yes, Your Honor. Let me discuss the second purpose, which is to reduce the contributions of the members. In our opinion, Your Honor, that is something that PhilHealth itself cannot do at the moment. There is no mechanism provided under the Universal Healthcare Act that would authorize the reduction at this time of the contributions from the members. What we see in the Universal Healthcare is a schedule of the premium rates from 2019 down to 2025. But after 2025, there's nothing there. And there is neither any provision for a reduction of the contributions rates, the premium rates. So it is our opinion, Your Honor, that legislative action is necessary to bring down the contribution premium rates.
Right? That is your opinion, Mr. Solicitor General.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. But this court's, my reading is this. This is self-executing. And it is PhilHealth that must execute it because the law is in place already. All right. All right. When funding unprogrammed appropriations, how does Congress determine where to get the funds and which appropriations to realign?
Your Honor, under Special Provision 1D, there are various sources of funds, such as excess of revenue collections over the targets, or new revenues, whether these are tax or non-tax. There are foreign loans approved, which might also go into the pool. And finally, this new additional source.
And excess reserve funds.
Excess
reserve funds.
No, it's called
as a result,
fund balance.
Yes, as
Your
a
Honor.
result of the review and reduction scheme.
To reasonable levels of their
to reasonable level
of their reserve funds.
Is discretionary. It has no fixed standard. All right.
There are guidelines, Your Honor, set by the Department of Finance for determining the computation of what should be a reasonable level.
Yes. According to the DOF, the funds to be remitted to the National Treasury will finance urgent national projects. In Annex A of your compliance, dated November 8, 2024, pages 1 to 4, the OSG enumerated some of these projects, including routine maintenance of national roads, the Panay-Guimaras-Negros Island Bridges, or the PGN Bridges project, and payment of right-of-way. These are all construction projects, Mr. Solicitor General, correct?
Not all of them, Your Honor. Some of them pertain to health projects.
No, I'm talking about the routine maintenance of national roads, the PGN Bridges project, and payment of right-of-way, correct?
In a sense, they are ordinary expenses.
They
expenditures.
pertain to construction projects of the government, correct?
Infrastructure, yes.
You can call it that, infrastructure projects, all right. With respect to the PGN Bridges project, per DBM's budget of expenditures and source of financing, FY 2024 report, the PGN Bridges project appears to be fully funded by the Export-Import Bank of Korea in the amount of 174.49 billion plus. Is there an urgency to transfer the PhilHealth funds when the project is already fully funded?
Your Honor, this is a matter really of delving into the wisdom of the legislature in allocating funds.
Yes.
So when
funding a project that is already fully funded under the category of unprogrammed funds.
I didn't quite get the
Programs.
question,
Yes.
Your Honor. Pardon me.
Yes. Export-Import Bank of Korea has loaned the Philippines 174.49 billion plus. Is there an urgency to transfer the PhilHealth funds when the project is already fully funded?
Your Honor, I think one consideration by the Congress in doing so is a determination of when a project is already implementable. So if a project that has already been identified and sufficiently funded is considered to be non-implementable for the given fiscal year, then I think it is the decision of the Congress in the exercise of its policy or wisdom, so to speak, to move it to the unprogrammed appropriations in the meantime.
Yes, all right. So has the government moved this amount to the unprogrammed funds of the government?
There are so...
This
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Export-Import Bank of Korea loan, has the government moved it to unprogrammed funds?
We will have to check on
Yes,
that. Whether
please check on that.
Yes, whether that has been actually transferred only or removed altogether.
Yes.
Because there were certain removals made by the Congress in the proposed infrastructure or other projects
How
of the
can
government.
the government have removed this when it is a loan specifically for that purpose?
It is something that can be deferred, Your Honor, even
Yes,
if it's
what
funded.
is the reason for deferring it?
Your Honor, I cannot speculate on the
Correct.
reasons of the
I go
congressman.
now, yes, to my next question. Has the government spent even a single centavo from that loan, considering that the project has not even started?
Well, there is nothing to spend for if the project has not even started, Your
So
Honor.
where is the money?
The money went presumably to the National Treasury for the purpose of using it for projects and programs under the unprogrammed
So we have
appropriations.
unused funds for the project, and yet we still got money from PhilHealth to supplement this fund that has been unused for years.
Not automatically, Your Honor, because even if the funds, even if the sources of funds under special provision, number one, of the unprogrammed appropriations is already there and is ready to be used for the projects under the unprogrammed appropriations, it is still a question of whether the implementing agency is ready to implement that project. So if the implementing agency does not think that it can implement such a project within the given year, then it will not ask for any allocation under the
Yes.
unprogrammed appropriations.
Yes, but aside from the foreign funding from Korea for this project, in 2022, there was additional funding from the GAA for this project in the amount of 50 million in 2022. In 2023, another 57 million. This is over and above the Korea Export-Import Bank of Korea loan. Where did this money go when the project has not even started?
We will check on that, Your Honor, because that is a very specific project which we have not really examined.
Yes,
we're
please
looking
do
at
that.
the totality of all the projects that were defunded or where the allocations had been reduced, and or some projects that had actually been removed from the programmed appropriations under the NEP, and which may have found themselves in the unprogrammed appropriations.
Yes, Mr. Solicitor General. And based on the special allotment release order, the use of funds for the PGN Bridge project is released on a quarterly basis, showing that the payment of funds is done in phases. More, based on the press release of the local government of Iloilo on the project timeline, the construction period for Section A, which is the 13-kilometer Panay-Guimaras project, is from a third quarter of 2025 up to the fourth quarter of 2028. Given these premises, what is the urgency of remitting the subject funds if the construction of the PG and Bridges project has already been funded and has yet to start in 2025?
Your Honor, the urgency is on the use of these available funds for all the projects listed under the unprogrammed appropriations. There are so many of them. I think 57 different purposes.
Yes, and it's one of them. And it's one of them. And it shows that it has had multiple fundings. All right. On maintenance of national roads, which national roads are we referring to?
Your Honor, we can refer to the SARO released by the Department of Budget and Management to determine which particular projects had already availed themselves of funding from the provisions of special.
So there are no
provision.
specific national roads that are covered by the unprogrammed funds.
Your Honor, what is stated under the unprogrammed appropriations are purposes, not specific particular project.
Correct.
Now, it depends on the implementing agency to determine which specific road project it wants to be implemented using the funds available from Special Provision 1B.
Yes, thank you for that, Mr. Solicitor General. In the 2024 GAA, there is already an appropriation for the maintenance of national roads under its special road fund of 15 million, 1.6 billion under maintenance, repair, and rehabilitation of infrastructure facilities and other related activities, routing maintenance of national roads, and 463 million under maintenance, repair, and rehabilitation of infrastructure facilities and other related activities, routing maintenance of national bridges, all under the DPWH budget. More, per DPWH Department Order Number 32 Series of 2020, the road fund shall be remitted to the National Treasury and earmarked for the construction, upgrading, repair, and rehabilitation of roads, bridges, and road drainage. Perhaps each one of us pays the road tax each time we renew our licenses or we register our cars. Considering all these fundings, why is there a need to get additional funds from PhilHealth for the same road maintenance under the category of unprogrammed appropriations?
Your Honor, as I have explained earlier, during the deliberations of the budget, on the budget by the Congress, they determine whether some or a few or several of the projects identified by the proponent agency are something that can be implemented within the given fiscal year. So I cannot speculate, but I can only think of the reason that they may remove some of these specific projects identified in their belief that they cannot be implemented anyway or can wait until some future time, and therefore they remove them from the programmed appropriations.
Programmed appropriations, what I understand is this. there are already program appropriations. But in addition, unprogrammed funds were also sourced out from GOCCs. PhilHealth is one of them. So here's maintenance for roads, national roads, that carry both programmed funds and unprogrammed funds. All right. Now, let's go to the payment of right-of-way. Of course, as Solicitor General, you wouldn't know how many properties the government is projecting to pay for, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
But under the 2024 GAA, DPWH was granted 2.5 billion for payment of right-of-way. So why is there a need to tap PhilHealth funds for payment of right-of-way?
Your Honor, let me just clarify that we are not referring solely to PhilHealth funds. I mean, the remainder of...
Correct.
We are referring to a pool
Yes,
of funds.
I'm aware of that, Mr. Solicitor General. But it is a fact that money was taken, billions, in fact, 89 billion, although a little was restrained by the government, by the Supreme Court. So that's the fact, that billions of pesos were taken from the reserve funds of PhilHealth. What? For the construction of a bridge that has not even started and that has been funded many times over, and a right-of-way that is already funded by millions, by billions, and then maintenance of the roads that is already funded by billions under the GAA.
Your Honor, under the purposes listed under unprogrammed appropriations, the biggest chunk goes to social projects, including health projects. And as a matter of fact, as of December of 2024, the total amount of 46 billion pesos, thereabouts, more or less, had been devoted under the unprogrammed appropriations for social, more particularly health projects, such as the regional hospitals of the Department of Health, and most importantly, Your Honor, for the payment of the long overdue health emergency allowances of medical workers who were supposed to be paid during the pandemic, but whose payment had been substantially delayed. So the very first payment made out of the unprogrammed appropriations went to the payment of the health emergency allowances of nurses and other medical workers.
But there is an overlap between this general purpose for unprogrammed funds on one hand and the special purpose for which PhilHealth funds have been constituted. Right. Now, the other projects funded from the GOCCs, including PhilHealth, include management and supervision of comprehensive peace process, payment of personnel benefits, priority social programs for health, social welfare and development, higher education, and technical and vocational education, revised AFP modernization program, pension and gratuity fund, financial subsidy for purchase of photovoltaic mainstreaming for rural electrification. Now, may I ask, which comprehensive peace process does this refer to?
I'm not sure exactly which is being referred to, but I suppose that refers to the long and ongoing peace process that has started many administrations ago and which has not been completed. So I suppose this includes the peace process involving our brothers in Southern Mindanao.
Yes, but Like the other programs, under the unprogrammed appropriations, the 2024 GAA already has an item under the Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity for this purpose, which is 459 million plus. We're flashing it on the screen. What is the need for additional 688 million plus budget under the unprogrammed appropriations? Is the peace process part of the mandate of PhilHealth?
Again, Your Honor, I cannot speculate why Congress put such a project under the unprogrammed appropriations.
Precisely, we are here, okay,
Yes, Your Honor, but
to evaluate whether the assignment of this item, the inclusion, is proper. Is it valid? Is it constitutional?
Your Honor, it's just a list. The matter of actual availment will have to be determined by the implementing agency.
But because of that list, 89 billion funds of the PhilHealth, minus the last remittance, was transferred to the National Treasury.
Your Honor, again, this is a matter which should be addressed to the wisdom and the policy of the legislature. So we, I believe, will not be in a position to say that a certain appropriation is right or wrong or proper or improper.
Yes.
We have to rely
So,
on the wisdom of the
which
people who
is
represent us.
a political question.
In that
Except
sense,
only
yes.
if it is tainted with grave abuse of discretion.
Exactly, Your Honor.
All right. What about the personnel benefits? The amounts needed to implement the salary adjustments of the national government agencies shall be charged from the respective agencies' budgets per National Budget Circular number 591 of the DBM. Why is this item charged against PhilHealth and categorized as unprogrammed?
There is an existing appropriation for that under the program appropriations, Your
Yes.
Honor. But in addition, or probably in substitution of a part of the amount already allocated in the program, the appropriations, Congress deemed it proper to include as a standby this particular item if funds would be available
All right.
to support it.
Standby, but the reserve funds is not just standby. All right. Now, meanwhile, for priority social programs for health, the DOH budget under the 2024 GAA already includes 28 billion plus for the implementation of health facilities enhancement program and 58 billion plus for medical assistance for indigent and financially incapacitated patients. How are these different from the priority social programs for health under the unprogrammed appropriations?
Your Honor, as I have explained earlier, during the process of budget deliberations, Congress might have removed or reduced the allocation for certain health projects, DOH projects, for in consideration probably of the reason that these are not implementation ready. So
Yes.
let's just put it on standby under the unprogrammed appropriations. And when there are funds to support them, then we will
Yes,
implement
funds
this.
standby means it may or may not be used.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. But the reserve funds will always be used because people get sick and they need funds for their medicines, hospital expenses. And the hospitals and doctors also have to receive the reimbursement for their expenses. Otherwise, the quality of service to our Filipino people will suffer.
Your Honor, that expense is taken care of by the accumulated income of the PhilHealth, its corporate operating budget, and in addition, its reserve funds. So
Yes.
all of these expenditures, Your Honor, have already been considered and taken into account before PhilHealth determined what was its fund
Yes.
balance.
Yes, Mr. Solicitor General. But the DOF circular specifically mentions reserve funds.
Fund balance, Your Honor, not reserve fund.
And that is what you use later. But what is in the circular itself?
Fund balance,
Okay.
not reserve fund.
Yes, fund balance, reserve funds. We can call it another name.
Yeah, but it is our
Yes.
position that they are different concepts, Your Honor.
Fund balance from where? From the accumulated benefits.
No, fund balance we're speaking in terms of the general application of DOF Circular 003/2024. That circular does not refer only to PhilHealth,
Yes.
but to all GOCCs.
Correct, but we're talking here how it affected PhilHealth.
In the case of PhilHealth, Your Honor, there was this directive by the Congress in the exercise of its legislative powers and its power to appropriate to review and reduce PhilHealth's reserve fund on the basis of its historical expenses.
Correct. So we're speaking
and
of
the
reserve
remainder-
funds. We're speaking of reserve funds.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
But it's the remainder.
The remainder
ones-
of the reserve funds. Then we go back to section 11. All right. Anyway, thank you for that. My last question is this. For the AFP modernization program, based on research, 25 billion was allotted for this under the 2020 GAA, 27 billion under the 2021 GAA, 29 billion and 50 million under the 2022 GAA, but no similar item under the 2023 and 2024 GAAs. Yet, Republic Act number 10349 extended the AFP modernization program for another 15 years. That is until 2027. In short, this expense is predictable. So why was it placed under the unprogrammed appropriations in 2023 and 2024 GAA?
Again, Your Honor, we cannot speculate
Yes.
on the reasons,
The wisdom.
on the wisdom of Congress in postponing or deferring certain
And
expenditures.
reclassifying these funds, though predictable, from programmed to unprogrammed. All right. Mr. Solicitor General, thank you. You have all my respect.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You may go back to your seat. Thank you. So for petitioners who would like to respond to the questions of the court. Yes, just two questions, Chief. Thank you. All right.
If I may, Your Honors.
Yes,
Yes. We just
Is it
divided.
good evening already?
It is good evening.
It is
already,
good
Your
and
Honors.
it is evening.
Yes, yes. But just to clarify, Your Honor, based on the order of the court, we divided the topics. So procedural goes to Attorney Calleja. The PhilHealth issues, mainly to Pimentel, the petitioners.
All right. So Attorney Calleja
For the
will
procedural.
respond to my questions.
If I may, Your Honor, the ones assigned to us is presidential certification and the insertion in the budget by the BICAM in the
Noted.
program funds.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Counsel. Good evening, rather.
Good evening, Your Honors.
Yes.
Good evening.
It's evening. All right. Did Section 1D, Chapter 14, or 43?
43, Your
Yes,
Honor.
43 of GAA 2024 amend the provision under Section 11 of the UHCA, stating that, I quote, no portion of the reserve fund or income thereof shall accrue to the general fund of the national government or any of its agencies or instrumentalities, including government-owned or controlled corporations.
Well, anyway, Your Honor, that is for the Pimentel, but I would venture an answer since...
Don't venture. I want the one in charge to
Okay.
respond.
Okay, Your Honor.
Yes, thank you.
Good
Madam
evening, Your
Counsel,
Honor.
yes,
Your
please
Honor. Yes, Your
respond.
Honor. It is our argument that it actually amends Section 11 of the Universal Healthcare Act. Your Honor, in the Section 11, it says no portion of the reserve fund or income thereof. Whether while the reserve fund, the respondents have debated on whether the amounts are actual reserve funds or not, because they have been challenging that it is supposed to be accumulated earnings, Your Honor. But I think the language is clear on the income thereof. Based